Okay, so now, Rogzy, I'm on Plan B network. I don't know anything about privacy. Take me by the end and tell me where I can learn about privacy.
The level one is to not reuse your address. People care about specific things, and money is one of the things. And when you associate privacy in Bitcoin with security, people start to care about it. Instead of burning myself, I told myself, okay, I will improve step by step. Being more secretive about when you entered, for example, Bitcoiners at conference asking, oh, when did you got into Bitcoin? Why would you respond? Honestly, honestly, why would you respond? But also, why would you respond honestly to that question? If you say, oh, 2013, you just put a target on your head. Okay, that guy bought Bitcoin when the price was around 300.
Get it. And beyond Bitcoin privacy, what do you say to people who still consider that they don't have anything to hide and that there's no real need for privacy in their life? Those people around us who don't see the need for pseudo-anonymity, for all those tools that you're basically promoting. Hey Rogzy, how are things going?
Hey Jacques, nice to have you again. Everything good? Plan B network is going fine. 2025 is starting on a really high rhythm and happy to be here.
Yeah, it's fairly crazy. I mean, the other day we had a fantastic conversation around privacy, as part of the Bitcoin roundtable on this subject. And the speakers, they made it crystal clear that preserving spaces of privacy is absolutely fundamental. A, for individuals to remain creative, and B, for society to allow for the divergence needs to constantly reinvent itself. So the overall idea really is that we simply cannot flourish without privacy. And the good thing is that promoting those privacy enhancing technologies and habits is really at the very top of your agenda, Plan B network, right? Can you tell us how important is this topic of privacy at Plan B network?
It's really important, to be honest. And actually, when we moved into Plan B network from Découvre Bitcoin, when we did the transition, I was kind of scared that the new associates, as you know, Tether and Fogger, would slow me down on privacy. But on the contrary, they were really eager to help us on that path, never blocked us, because we all share as a collective the idea of censorship resistance, giving back freedom, and privacy is fundamental within that. So quickly, in 2024, we created more than, I think, 20 tutorials on privacy, doing advanced tutorial on what used to be Samurai and Wasabi, CoinJoin, explaining how it works, the heuristic used by chain analysis, explaining tools on how to regain privacy. And in addition to doing all those tutorials based on Bitcoin, we also produced quite a lot of tutorials on generic security and privacy for your day-to-day IT life, how to use better software, how to not use a centralized cloud, etc., etc. So for sure, we try to do quite a good amount of content on privacy, which then not only turn to be tutorials, but also courses. So now we have BTC 204, Privacy on Bitcoin. We'll go in depth into the theory of the Bitcoin privacy, how the broker of data analysis of Bitcoin use your data, the data from the blockchain to analyze you.
Yeah.
How they can track what you did, how they can sell that data or provide that data to the government, how the exchanges can also comply, what is the good practices to get more privacy from, well, CoinJoin is one thing, but from good management of UTXO, understanding the heuristics, picking the right type of addresses to use, etc., etc. So we really created a lot, in my opinion, of content on privacy. There's always more we can do, and we are pushing to get more. And in 2025, we will have more privacy courses. But in general, to answer the question, it's pretty high. It's also high because we have very passionate Bitcoiners among the team that cares about privacy. So often in Plan B, we built and we release the content that comes the more naturally to us, because we believe that Bitcoiners are the most suited to create Bitcoin content. And so very often when we do our data discussion or which content should be produced next, which courses should be produced next, privacy is pretty high on the list. And sadly, I'm the one that have to say, okay, we will do more privacy later because we need to do lightning and we need to do economics and we need to do mining and other topics. But we have a lot of privacy in the backlog. One of them would be advanced Bitcoin management. And so by that, I mean basically a complete guide on how to use Bitcoin as a Bitcoiner maximalist. So basically going from cold card to seed plates, timestamping, to connecting to your node, to co-join, to having your Lightning node connecting to your Zeus, to create an inference plans, and having like a very proper setup of Bitcoin usage focused on privacy.
That's interesting because you've developed all this work, and indeed, I recall visiting the platform and checking those courses, which are Bitcoin related, but not only. You learn about privacy and security on the internet as well. You've developed all this content in a context in 2024 where the attack on privacy has been fairly huge, right? We've had Samurai developers arrested, and Wasabi, they've stopped operating in the United States, right? Plus there was this Tornado Cash. This was probably 2024. I can't recall the exact date. But despite...
I understand the question. It's not really related. Well, it is in a way related. So basically, we wanted to get more privacy content. So we hired Loic at the beginning of Plan B Network because he's one of the best educators, in my opinion, out there. And we told him, okay, your first mission is to really push privacy because we wanted to have that. And we did. And basically, when we finished that first version of all the tutorials, the Samurai arrestation happened. And so we were, we just did that for nothing. And then we got Wasabi stopping their services. And at that point, it clicked to me that it was like, no, we didn't do that for nothing. We did that because it mattered. And the fact they arrested those guys proved that we did the right thing because they are arrested because the government is scared of what they built. So we kept the tutorial on, we adapted the disclaimer, even though the tutorial is not really up to date. But I think it's important that it's here for future generation to know that it existed, learn from it, and we are readapting the tutorials to suit the new fork of Samurai that exists. And the same way, basically, we saw that our practical exercise and tutorial were not up to date due to the arrestation. We said, okay, let's double down on privacy because it matters. And so we did the courses on theory. So now we have the courses on theory that will always remain kind of up to date, except with silence payment that is evolving. And then we have the practical use case, which have been updated to the stop of Samurai and Wasabi. But so it's both. Like we didn't plan, and we were quite shocked, to be honest, by that. However, it pushed us to say, okay, we will not stop. We are based in Switzerland. We are based in El Salvador. We have the right to privacy. We have the duty to share that content. And we want Plan B Network to be fully resistant because we believe it's important that that content is accessible. So I would say, we will not shut down our privacy section because we do nothing wrong, first of all, legally speaking, and because it's very important that it remains very, very accessible for everyone worldwide.
Yeah. So you haven't really felt intimidated by the institution, by the countries, and you haven't felt restrained by your partners. As you said, you've been positively surprised to see that Felger Venture and Tether were supporting those efforts. Can you tell us about this Kit.io communication application or protocol, I'm not sure how to call it, that is being developed? I mean, it looks very promising. Yeah, tell us about this project.
For sure. So first of all, if you're interested into Kit, Hole Punch, Peer Runtime, Bear, I recommend that you follow Guy Swan. First of all, Guy Swan is probably one of the best Bitcoiners out there, but he's also running a regular club where he discusses all of those technology. That being said, basically, Tether has been very involved in trying to break down censorship. And so to do that, they've developed for many years what is called the Hole Punch protocol. It's a new way of communication. And what they did is that they took basically torrent, so uTorrent, and tried to analyze it and try to go back to the roots of what torrent is and update it to today's technology. And that, in a nutshell, is Peer Runtime, which is an open source library to build decentralized applications that are censorship resistant. Peer Runtime, which is kind of the new name of Open, or it's kind of how we know it now, also have Bear that is also helping to build those type of applications. Out of that protocol, one of the first application that came out is Kit, which is a peer-to-peer chat room. So it's a peer-to-peer communication protocol. And you can think it as a Telegram, Signal, Messenger, Simple X for that you run. And it connects you peer-to-peer with the other person that you talk to. And you can create rooms with as many people as you want. And everything is peer-to-peer with no servers and no central point of failure. Or at least that is what is said to be. Peer and Bear are open source, so you can check the code on GitHub. Kit is using the stack, but is not fully open source as it's an application above.
Right.
For Plan B Network, we are using Peer Runtime to distribute some of our content around to the nodes. So we try to decentralize the database into peers to get more redundancy and efficiency on the website load. And at the same time, pretty soon we will have the new video selector in the platform, allowing us to basically have for every course content. So every time you are in the course, you have the video at the top right. Now you will have basically the choice as any streaming platform to choose between YouTube, Rumble, or PeerTube, which is hosted by us and so on our centralized servers, or Peer, which would be basically at that point peer-to-peer streaming of the video. So if tomorrow we shut down YouTube, we still have our servers, but if our servers were to be shut down, basically the platform would continue to exist because the video would be streamed peer-to-peer between all of the user of the platform in a very efficient way. So in a nutshell, Peer Runtime allows the creation of peer-to-peer application ranging from communication with, for example, Kit, to video streamings, to servers management, to website, to distribution of files, to basically anything you want. Our Paolo, the CEO of Tether, is really bullish about peer because he believes that peer-to-peer communication is the way to reduce costs into the broadcasting of information, because it makes no sense to go all the way to planet, like to the top of the atmospheres, and to go down to talk when we are literally, I don't know, 3 blocks away, or even just face to face. And so he believes that this is the future of at least the Tether technological stack, ranging also for the exchange. So for example, creating a peer-to-peer decentralized exchange that is scalable using Peer Runtime. Yeah, I don't know if it was clear. To be honest, I'm not like it. I follow it because I like it, but I'm not an expert in the tech stack of Peer.
Are you planning to use Kit.io internally within your organization in the coming future?
Yeah, actually, we've started. So for the day-to-day operation of the platform of the team, we use something else more similar to a stack. Let's say it's Mattermost, which is open source. When it comes to communication with the students, now we are starting Plan B Labs, which are basically weekly seminars by mentors on specific topics, like office hour, open hour for students to ask questions to mentors.
Okay.
It's actually Fanis Michalakis, one of the authors of our Lightning courses, that is starting to bootstrap that. And so the discussion between all of the students will be on Kit. And the same way we do a Kit room to talk about Lightning research paper discussion, we want to do the same on privacy, to get like a privacy labs within our students community. And that will be using Kit. Now, when it comes to having the internal communication of the platform, so for example, teacher to students, students to students during a classroom using Kit, I'm not sure we will use Kit because our website is running on the web. Well, Kit cannot use servers, so there's limitation technically. But I think what we will do is use Peer Runtime to rebuild a chat within the platform. So it's not going to be Kit, but it's going to be an internal chat because we don't need we don't need Telegram within the platform, right? We just need a chat between the teacher and the students. So it's a different use case. Like we are not aiming to have a global multi-million communication network, right? We just want teachers and students to talk with each other. So I think we will use Peer Runtime to build up the chat within the platform, but it's not going to be Kit. So Kit is going to be here, and we're going to be here, but using the same technology, which is Peer Runtime.
All right. And what's funny is that we're here talking about those privacy enhancing technologies. We're having this Bitcoin roundtable focusing on privacy as a prerequisite for society flourishment, right? But it's a topic that I've had to wait. My age, I'm 50 years old. I've got my gray hairs. I've got my family and everything. I'm only starting really to think about this topic. It basically drove me to do some sort of introspection to find out, how the world has changed. How is it that I've moved from a position of, look, I don't have anything to hide, it's fine, to now being quite cautious about what I do online, etc. Do you remember when and how you started making this connection between privacy and freedom, creativity and prosperity for society? Can you share that sort of journey with us?
Sure. I'm not 50, I have to say. Actually, quite younger. But privacy always felt right, in my opinion. I grew up with quite a large family, and having my moment was always like important. So I always liked them. And then I was very quickly online. I was more in my room while my brother were outside, let's say. So immediately I was on the internet, and I quickly realized that basically everything will be recorded forever. That being said, I didn't care so much to use the right tools. I will use a very centralized servers that keeps everything, but I will delete the message myself, not realizing they have a backup. So it's kind of, I was doing stupid shit. Then slowly by slowly, when I discovered Bitcoin, I realized all of the mistakes I was doing. And I realized also that privacy was hard. And so instead of burning myself, I told myself, okay, I will improve step by step. And I think this is my journey that I continue into, meaning that every year I improve. Immediately when I discovered Bitcoin, I set up, for example, a password manager. I never had that before.
Yeah.
So I waited to have, I don't know, 20 something years old to realize that, oh my God, that exists. And then I discovered 2FA, and I was like, okay, 2FA is really cool. I know it's not privacy, it's security, but still.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, damn, like my email is shit. And then I was like, okay. And then I was, damn, my servers are shit. And then I was like, okay, I'm not going to use Facebook anymore. And so I cleaned that. And then I was like, okay, I need to back up that. And so basically every year I improve. And now it's the chat. And then it's a process. And now I'm on Graphene OS. And so the more I improve on privacy, the more easy it is. And I often say it's a journey, and it goes with like steps. So I improve quite a lot, and then I stagnate to make sure that I'm good with the tools I'm using, and then I improve again. And so it's always like that. And so of course now, like, okay, I will use my own node for my wallets.
Yeah.
But even that is just a small step. And so if you had to list all of the privacy steps, there is so many that you cannot just do all of them. You have to go progressively. At the same time, there's stuff I know it's not worth fighting. For example, my face. I'm so screwed. I pretty much, I think I have almost 2,000 video of YouTube. I have hundreds, thousands of hours of me talking. So I know my voice, my face, my mimic, everything is already used online. So I have to protect myself differently because that is already kind of screwed. So I realized that privacy and cybersecurity is very closed, and I can only encourage you to go step by step. Immediately also, when I started doing videos on Bitcoin, so 5 years ago, I told everyone, please don't start a YouTube channel. Like I will be the face. You don't have to say that you own Bitcoin. Don't tell people you own Bitcoin. Like it's a bad practice. I know it's hard, but don't say it because it will be the first and most important privacy step. You will either go one direction or another. And I know it's hard, but you should not talk about Bitcoin around you because it immediately targets you as a Bitcoiner.
How do you reconcile this warning and recommendation that you're making, just don't talk about Bitcoin, with what we know is happening is education, Bitcoin, real Bitcoin self-custodial Bitcoin adoption is largely mainly happening through meetups and people talking to each other, right? So how do you reconcile them both?
I know it's really tricky, but I do think it's still important that people understand that once they talk about Bitcoin, they are targeted at Bitcoin. No, there's talking and talking, explaining to be like, oh yeah, actually, I did study a bit about Bitcoin and it's quite interesting. I follow Plan B Network or Découvre Bitcoin. That sentence doesn't do a lot compared to
as opposed to
being
bragging.
proactive. Oh yeah, no, I have those exchange, I do that. And also talking to everyone for any concept. Being more secretive about when you entered, for example, Bitcoin at a conference, asking, oh, when did you got into Bitcoin? Why would you respond? Honestly, honestly, why would you respond? But also, why would you respond honestly to that question? If you say, 2013, you just put a target on your head. Okay, that guy bought Bitcoin when the price was around 300, let's say. Of course, he has a lot of Bitcoins, probably. So it's always like expressing, talking, it's always lying. What I discovered also is that privacy is about lying, which was something tricky at the beginning. It's not, we often say it's bad to lie, don't lie. Okay, but so someone asks you a question, you say, I don't want to answer, or you lie. So very often people ask me like, oh, what do you do in your life at random venue, which is not work related or family related? And I would be like, oh no, I do graphic design, which is true. I do graphic design.
You're
or
a
like,
fantastic graphic designer.
And or I do like, oh no, I do UX. I work on an e-learning platform. I do UX. That is not a lie. I do literally the UX of the platform, but I'm not saying it's a platform that teaches Bitcoin, right? Because I don't feel like pushing
You don't want to
myself.
expose yourself unnecessarily, right? I get it. And beyond Bitcoin privacy, what do you say to people who still consider that they don't have anything to hide and that there's no real need for privacy in their life? Those people around us who don't see the need for anonymity, for all those tools that you're basically promoting, educating us about, and not necessarily in relation to Bitcoin. What do you tell them, those people?
In the past, I used to argue quite a lot to say that it's really important. Today, I don't argue this much because I try to focus on the people that listen. But in general, I feel like they will get it at some point. I don't remember the saying, but I don't know who said the saying, but everyone will need 5 minutes of privacy in the future. And I think those people also realize that. The same way you will go to the bathroom and close the door. Friends that go on websites at night to look at a sexual clip will try to use a VPN and go into privacy mode. It's really funny that they focus privacy for very specific needs. And so when you go to that dark net, we're like, okay, like why do you need for that and not for the rest? Like, I don't care about the rest because like they can exploit your data, and I feel like people don't care because they don't care about their data, but they care about having a video of them masturbating, for example. The same way, if you tell them, okay, but do you care that people know all of your wealth? They will say yes. So people care about specific things, and money is one of the things. And when you associate privacy in Bitcoin with security, people start to care about it. So for a Bitcoiner, it's easy because immediately they think, oh fuck, okay, I need to protect my money myself because I'm my own bank, so I need privacy. For someone that is not into Bitcoin and doesn't care about privacy, I agree, it's way harder, and they will always go for but we need to know everything to catch the bad guys, which is a slippery road because if you want to know everything to catch the bad guys, you will more often than not catch the bad guys, but you will know everything about everything, and that's a pretty good dystopian.
Shall we take a look at the platform and see specific content that we can suggest for those who want to discover ways to improve their privacy?
Yeah, let me share my screen.
Okay, so now, Rogzy, I'm on Plan B Network. I don't know anything about privacy. Take me by the end and tell me where I can learn about privacy, Bitcoin or not Bitcoin related.
For sure. So as always, for Plan B, it depends the type, how you want to learn. But if you go on tutorial, we literally have a section called privacy. And so if you click on it, you will have more than 20 tutorials, either privacy on-chain or analysis. So you can always go in depth on those topics.
Right.
analysis. And if you want the more stream forward course, if you go on courses.
So just a second. So privacy, those tutorials here by on-chain, what do you mean? Do you mean those are tools that can help improve my privacy when I'm doing on-chain transactions?
Exactly, they are related to wallets. So it's everything that is connected directly into your use case of Bitcoin. So for example, CoinJoin with Samurai, Sparrow, Drainbot, labeling UTXO, PayJoin. So it's really the more
Right.
hand-to-hand practical tutorials, while analysis will
Right.
be tools to analyze your privacy footprint. So
Okay.
you could, for example, auto attack yourself or use that tool to attack someone else. So if someone provides you with information, you could like use those various tools to figure out some data and information. And so it can be served to demonstrate, do workshop, or auto evaluate your own privacy footprint.
Right. But those tutorials, and correct me if I'm wrong, but those are not directed to a beginner's audience. It's fairly advanced, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, privacy, most of them are not. You have multiple layers, as I mentioned, as a journey. The
Yeah.
first layer would be literally just to not reuse your address. And we teach
Okay.
that in BTC 101.
Okay. So that's Bitcoin here.
Yeah, for beginners, Bitcoin 101, or how to get your first Bitcoin, we will just basically within those classes explain that
Okay.
the level one is to not reuse your address and probably also use a specific account to get an exchange account. So you separate your day-to-day email with your other one. If you are really a beginners, maybe if you go to security as a topic,
Right. Okay.
you will have, and if you scroll down, because now you've selected both, you will have basically.
Just a second. You can select two keywords here. So security. Okay. Fine.
Okay, update your online security will be really like a beginner class that
Okay.
will teach you the good practices of IT, from using a VPN, doing proper backup, using Firefox, the right browser,
Yeah.
understanding how the cookie works, etc., etc. So that will be really like the basics of
Right.
privacy if you don't care about Bitcoin, because it's more like generic use of a computer.
Okay.
Then Bitcoin 102, if you click on Bitcoin 102, getting your first Bitcoin will help you set up your first wallet and your first exchange, right?
Right.
So there we will basically teach you the best practice, and we will talk a bit about a specific type of Bitcoiner, which is the paranoid. We will explain what that person would be doing in
Okay.
setting up your plan.
So you're introducing the paranoiac Bitcoiners who's becoming more and more aware of the need to take care of his privacy, right?
Exactly, with non-KYC solution and stuff like that. However, we realized that at that point, there is no way he's gonna do it. Like,
Okay.
it will have to be crazy. So in the courses, we do explain what he would imply, but
Yeah.
we are realistic in the fact that people would just use a single seed, maybe on Sparrow, and not do much more at the beginning.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
once they finish Bitcoin 102, they will move to like courses of the second level.
Yeah.
And there they will do privacy on Bitcoin. And
Oh,
so
right.
privacy
Okay.
on Bitcoin will basically teach them way more advanced things. And so if you scroll to the curriculum or the objective,
Yeah.
and you open the little tabs, it will be really like a rehash of like what is a UTXO, how to structure a transaction, what is Bitcoin privacy model, and then basically the chainalysis heuristics and mastering the best practices, understanding CodeJoin, etc., etc. And then later we will put them into practice. So that course is really targeted to Bitcoiners. Even though you are already considering yourself a Bitcoiner, you will learn quite a lot because it's quite advanced. And if you click on any of those, you will see that there's a lot of graph explanation, basic. So that one is quite basic. But even if you go more into the later chapters, at the top you can go to any chapters you want. Yeah.
Understanding CoinJoin.
So if you scroll down, for example, you will see that there will be quite a lot of advanced graph to try to really represent in a clean way how a CoinJoin could be working, and the same for chainalysis. There is also exercise for you to do. where we ask you to analyze an address, analyze a wallet, try to use the various tools.
Excellent. I think it's a good. I mean, those are already quite numerous content, fairly bulky. I mean, there's a lot to read, a lot to learn. And as you say, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I can definitely confirm that this is a long journey. I believe, depending on your personality, depending on your skills and interest in life, maybe you may be driven fairly directly to all these very technical privacy related aspects. Most people might need a few years before they start digging and into this conjoint aspect, these UTXOs. I hope UTXOs is going to come more and more early in the learning people do. But the good thing is that the way you've organized your courses is progressive, and there's always the possibility to dig deeper into that aspect that you find interesting. Any other point you want to raise in relation to privacy before we conclude, Rogzy?
No, as you said, it's a long journey. Just start one step per step. I think the first step should be to use Proton Mail instead of whatever you have, and then do a password manager, change browser, and then slowly by slowly change where you talk to your friends and family, and improve. Use a VPN, and you go up and up and up on the journey. It's a long way.
The user VPN thing is probably the next thing I need to focus on, because I've got this NordVPN thing, which is fine, but it looks like there are perhaps maybe just one or two VPN that are really secure.
You can use eVPN. eVPN, you don't need an account. You can pay in Lightning for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year.
eVPN
It's
and
really,
Mulvad, right?
really, really easy. What?
And Mulvad?
Mulvad also works well.
Yeah. So that's my next step as far as privacy is concerned. Rogzy, thanks a lot. Wish you the best for the coming weeks, and we'll be in touch soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rogzy. Bye-bye.